experience each and every one of you in this way. I ask in return, how may we be of service to you now with your questions and dialogue? Proceed how you wish.
Yes, that's good. Hello, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
I have two questions.
Oh, all right.
The first question stems around my upbringing about the Bible.
Your upbringing about the Bible.
Yes.
All right, well, speak up clearly so that everyone can hear what you have to share.
All right, my first question is expand more on the idea of Adam and Eve, and were a lot of the stories in the Bible just kind of made up stories?
They are allegorical for the most part, although there are parts of them that are somewhat literal. But overall, they are used as metaphors to describe things that there was really no understanding or language for on one level, but the concepts were understood and framed in story-like ways, in parable ways that could be understood by the people of the time more clearly. So the idea, for example, of Adam and Eve is simply the recognition of the beginning of what you would call the human race by the genetic manipulation of an extraterrestrial race. Using the natural hominid species that evolved on your planet that you refer to as either Homo habilis or Homo erectus, that were genetically altered to contain some of the extraterrestrial genetics and create what you now refer to as yourselves as Homo sapien. The idea in an ancient language is that Adam or Adama simply means man.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yes.
All right.
All right, my second question is I've been following your teachings for about a month now.
Oh, all right.
And last Tuesday I had a dream. And,
Yes.
And it told me to go back to Alabama. That's where I'm from. But it didn't really say anything else. It said, it was very clear and very distinct. It said, go back to Alabama. And then I woke up.
Yes.
Kind of confused.
You're confused.
I wasn't really that confused, but I was like, I don't want to go back. I came to California to...
All right, all right. But what does Alabama mean to you in terms of an energy state? Not necessarily the physical state.
It's a low energy for me.
A
low energy.
A low energy.
Yes.
All right. And so that is not an energy state you wish to go back to.
Correct.
All right. So you were given an opportunity to decide for yourself in that dream whether that was a state you preferred or not.
I believe so.
All right. And so now you have clarity about the fact, even more so than before, that that is not an energy state you wish to experience.
Well, in the dream, it basically said go back to Alabama. I mean, I looked at it as an opportunity to either start a business because it's cheaper down there. But
is that what excites you?
That's what I've been trying to work on for the past 8 years.
You've been trying to work on?
Trying, yes.
Well, let me give you some help, if I may.
Please.
If there is any hesitation at all in your answer of yes, when asked if something excites you, then the hesitation is an indication that that's not what excites you. Any hesitation. Yes. So you don't have to try and work on it. All you have to do is ask the same question you were asked in the dream, the same kinds of questions. That's why you were given the question. Because it shows you, it demonstrates to you how you can easily understand what the direction of your true self is by asking a question and finding out how quickly you answer that question positively or negatively. Yes or no. Because that tells you exactly what is true for you. Or at least gives you an opportunity to find out why you're answering the way you're answering. Because sometimes you can certainly disguise your excitement and make it seem to not be your excitement. Conversely, you can also take something that is really not your excitement and pretend that it is, so that you don't face or have to face the fears that come up when you actually move in the direction of your true excitement.
I think I'm disguising it. That's what I feel. I'm disguising my excitement.
Yes. All right. So, but the idea is that you can decide for yourself what is really preferable. Because the idea of acting on your highest excitement means that all the components of it have to really be in alignment with your excitement. What it is you're doing, how it is you're doing it, where it is you're doing it, with whom you're doing it, so on and so forth, have to all line up, or it's not really a full expression of your excitement. So by asking yourself or telling yourself from another level to go back to Alabama and finding out what your reaction to that is, you get an opportunity to decide whether that actually is in your best interests by looking deep within yourself to see if you are making it seem not exciting when it could be, or whether it's truly, truly not representative of what would really excite you in life. And if you find that it is really not representative of what would excite you in life, then any other factor you need to consider doesn't really need to be considered to the detail that you are considering it. For example, as you said, well, maybe I need to move my business there because it's cheaper. But if that's not really a place that's representative of your excitement, then the success of your business doesn't have to require a state where it's cheaper. That means you will attract what you need to do it where you are more excited to do it. You understand?
Yes, but why would I have the dreams? It was so vivid, and then I woke up, and so I felt like it was my spirit guide, because a week before I asked the spirit guide to show me something. I didn't ask for anything.
There you go.
I didn't ask for anything specific. But
the spirit guide knows what you need to hear. And telling you to go back to Alabama doesn't mean you have to go back to Alabama. It's telling you, look at your response or reaction to the statement. And that will guide you. In other words, let me give you a simplified version of this. Sometimes people on your planet find they have a difficult time making a decision between this or that. Yes?
Correct.
And sometimes you say, well, flip a coin. Well, sometimes that's actually not a bad idea, because when you flip the coin, whatever it comes up, you'll see if you feel, yes, that's what I wanted, or darn, I wish it was the other side.
Yes.
And that may give you an immediate answer, because then you can realize, well, you don't have to do it just because it came up tails, because you now realize that you actually preferred heads. So it's another way, another permission slip of making your decision more definitive by really paying attention to the energy of your response to a statement. Yes? So the idea, the sentence, go back to Alabama, is as definitive a statement as the flipping of a coin. Heads or tails.
So don't take the dream literally. So
take it for the literalness of the energy you experienced within yourself in response to the statement.
Okay.
Because the things that excite you don't necessarily have to come to fruition in the way that you think. So never pay attention to what something appears to be on the surface, even that sentence. There is an underlying reason why the sentence is there, and you will understand the underlying reason when you pay attention to your response to it, not to the sentence itself. The sentence is just a mechanism to get you in touch with how you really feel about that reality, and to point out to you that if you really, really understand that being in Alabama is not in alignment with your true vibration of excitement, then you don't have to worry about the details like, well, maybe it needs to be in a place that's cheaper. Because excitement is a whole kit. It's a holistic idea. And if you know any one part of it, then all you have to do is simply look for the other things that have equal excitement and not get in your own way by making negative assumptions that don't have to be made, because you don't need to work out all the details. It's already worked out. All you need to do is know what the excitement is, take whatever action you can on it to the best of your ability, and have absolutely zero insistence or assumption as to what the outcome ought to be, knowing that whatever the outcome is, it will be the perfect outcome, and you will attract with synchronicity everything you need to allow it to be what it needs to be as an expanded representation of your excitement. Is this helping? Or am I confusing you?
No, you're not confusing me. I'm just trying to wrap my head around, why would the spirit guys give me something that was so unclear?
It's not unclear. It's very clear. When you were given the sentence, go back to Alabama,
right?
What was the first reaction you felt?
I didn't want to go. I'm like,
how clear is that? It's very clear. All I'm saying is, give yourself a moment to figure out whether your response is actually indicative of a true reflection of your excitement, or whether you're coloring it to make it seem unexciting when it might be. But as soon as you figure out that it might actually be representative of your true excitement, if that's what you figure out, you have your clear answer. Okay. Don't go there, because it's not representative of your excitement. It's not representative of your path. How much clearer does it need to be?
By having the spirit guide saying, don't, something more clearer,
Why do you keep saying it's not clear?
I don't know.
Oh, all right. We understand why. Thank you. Your spirit guide's actually helping.
Thank you.
You have an assumptive definition in your mind the way you think guides are supposed to talk to you.
Correct.
That is incorrect.
So how are they supposed to talk?
The way that they gave it to you invokes a process. Life is about the process you go through in discovering what you're truly all about. They don't just hand you answers on a platter. That's not living. That's having someone live your life for you, like you are a puppet on a string. Go here, go there, do this now, go to sleep, wake up, brush your teeth. So the idea is that a guide does their job best when they allow you to be your own best guide, because that's what they're training you to do. That's why they are a guide, not a do-it-all-for-you person. So they will always give you the information in a way that invokes a process. And the process actually was a very simple one. All you had to do was pay attention to your reaction to the statement, and you had your answer. Very simple. But that's what they're training you to do. Pay attention to your response to statements so that you know how to guide yourself. Because you know how you feel when you're given a proposal. When you're given a statement, you know how you feel about it. The only thing you have to do is make sure you're not coloring it to make it seem something other than what it is. But when you are clear about the idea that your response is a genuine, authentic response, your answer is clear. But you had to go through a process in order to get it, because it's not going to be done for you.
Do you have a name for my guide? So that when I talk to it, I won't just make up a name or just say, "Hey, spirit guide." And, I would like to be more personable with the guide.
The guide says you may use Philip.
Okay, I'll use Philip. Okay.
Does that work for you?
Yes.
All right. If in another dream the guide gives you another name, then you can use that too, or you can stick with Philip. It's up to you.
All right.
Does this help you?
Yes.
Is there something else?
Not at this moment.
All right, then thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Bashar.
And you good day.
First, I want to thank you very much for your messages.
We thank you for the co-creation and allowing us to reflect back to all of you what you already know.
My first question is, do I have a contract with the grace?
Yes.
Which kind of contract?
A contract to allow certain genetic patterns within you to form templates upon which hybrid beings can be created.
What are my options?
What are your options? Is that what you're asking? Your options for what?
I had experiences during ayahuasca sessions.
Yes.
That a being, at first I was thinking it was an attack, but
it's not an attack. It is simply an opportunity to explore your own fears and let them go. If you want to call those options, then by all means you can. You always have the option to explore a fear, know that you are safe in doing so, and let it go because it no longer serves you as an idea, thus allowing you to become more and more expressive of who you truly are. Is this helping? Or is there some other direction you wanted to take this in? Be specific.
My question is, do I have responsibility to them, or
You have responsibility to everyone, but you're never responsible for anyone. You have the responsibility to them to be yourself as best as you possibly can, because that's what this is all about.
so? Yes, I tend to.
I beg your pardon. You tend or you choose? One implies you are empowered, one implies you are not. I tend, it's out of my control, I don't know what I'm doing, or I choose. Even if it's negative, I choose gives you power to deal with it. I tend removes the power from your hands because it sounds like it's something you can't help. And once you know you have a habit, you don't have it anymore. A habit is something you do you don't know you're doing. If you know you're doing it, it's gone.
So it does not. It makes no difference
What makes no difference?
to know if I have a contract or not, because
It makes a difference in that the contract will reveal itself through the actions of your life, but it isn't always necessary for you to consciously know that the contract is there. The contract will play out in the challenges that you face and the synchronicities that crop up in your life. You'll know it eventually. Maybe you don't need to know it until the end of your life.
okay,
Yes?
just follow my highest excitement.
That's the complete kit that will give you every bit of information you need to live your life as fully as you possibly can. It really is a complete kit. Nothing is left out. Nothing. Is this helping?
Yes.
All
yes,
right.
thank you.
Anything else?
Yes, I have tinnitus since more than 30 years, and it's becoming over the years stronger and stronger. I tried several natural ways to get rid of it.
Get rid of what?
Tinnitus, so this sound in my ear,
Tinnitus.
or tinnitus.
All right.
And maybe you have, I want to ask you if you have a hint or an idea what I can do or what I can change.
Leave your email with the people that run this organization and information will be sent to you. All right?
Okay. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Something else?
Yes. I was wondering, is the universe, does the universe have a fractal structure?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Your universe does.
our universe.
Yes,
but
not all of them do, but yours does, and many do.
Okay. So I can find a whole new universe in one aspect of this
Yes.
fractal.
Yes.
And
That is usually the way it is laid out when fractals are involved, yes.
yeah.
But there are other ways in which universes can express themselves.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Um,
Is that it?
I have. I'm a medical journalist and I do research.
Is that exciting to you?
Yes.
Oh, all right.
Do
Just
research.
checking.
Yeah. Yeah, my highest excitement is to find out what my highest excitement is.
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
You'll be looking for a long time.
And
When we talk about the idea of acting on your highest excitement, we don't mean it has to come in the form of a career or a project long term. We simply mean at any given moment you have a number of options available to you of things that you can take action on in your life, and all you need to do is act on the one at any given moment that has more excitement than any other, and you'll be doing the same thing. If it ultimately turns into something that you could call a career or a job or a project, that's fine, because one expression of excitement is connected to all other expressions of excitement. That's part of the kit. But you don't have to start that way. You can start with baby steps and just keep acting on what's most exciting that's right in front of your face.
Yes, I do.
All right. Well, then you don't have to go looking for what your excitement is, because you're doing what is your highest excitement every moment.
Yes.
By simply making those choices.
Yes, and I'm open for changes or new ideas or new ways to live my excitement.
All right. Good for you.
Yes.
Will that do? Will
my-
that do?
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I want to say thank you so much, you and Darryl, for doing what you do. I find your expressions so funny, and
all right.
I love the way you do, and you're hilarious. And
We think many of you are quite hilarious too. In fact, since you bring it up, I will now let you in on a little preview of something to come in your year of 2015.
All right.
In one of our transmissions, we will bring in a young being from our society who has absolutely no idea what your society is like. And you're going to get the opportunity to explain some concepts to him. And let's see how that goes. It'll be a lot of fun, I guarantee.
In a transmission like this?
In a transmission like this, we will facilitate the training that he has had sufficiently to communicate with you, but understand that when we as first contact specialists contact a civilization, we have already had at least one incarnation in that civilization so that we understand the civilization. So we have a frame of reference so that we're not too alien. But this being, while being trained as a first contact specialist, does not yet have an incarnation in your civilization, and therefore you're going to really get to see the difference in the concepts you think are very obvious as compared to what one of our natural people actually perceives you to be.
Is this gonna be like a little alien baby, or like through a channel?
It's not a baby, it's a young being on our planet.
In physical form?
A physical being, but will channel through, just as I am channeling through right now.
Okay.
And you will get a chance to speak with him, and he will get a chance to speak with you. But we are going to find this exchange quite amusing.
Awesome. Is that gonna be through Darryl or another
Yes,
channel?
yes,
Through Darryl?
yes.
Cool. Okay.
Through this channel.
Okay. Cool. That's.
It'll be announced, don't worry. Now, would you like to continue?
Yes. When. Okay. So follow your excitement. I love the concept.
Follow your excitement to the best of your ability with zero insistence on the outcome. Many of you forget that third part quite conveniently. That's the whole formula. That's the formula that opens excitement up as the complete kit.
No resistance.
All right?
What if you feel like you have to do something?
Such as, for example.
Okay. I guess I'll use my life specific. Like.
Well, thank you. That would probably be best. Since that's the life you're living.
Yeah. So this one guy, right? So with my life, if let's say I'm having trouble figuring out exactly, like I find many things excite me, but I don't.
That's all right. There can be many different expressions of your excitement. That's all right. That's why you just need to follow the thread. The thread of what excites you at any given moment that you have the greatest ability to take action on is the thing to do at that moment, knowing that it's all connected and would lead you to any other expression of your excitement that needs to be expressed in your life.
But
so it's all right.
But then I find it so easy to get like off that thread, and then I get.
Why?
Like,
off what thread? If you're following the thread, how can you be off it?
Because let's say I'm with like a group of people or family or something, and I feel like maybe I'm like I really want to do that, and
do what?
Do something totally different, like run off, like I gotta go do that. And
all right,
and
that's
I don't want
fine.
to, but then I feel that pressure.
If it is actually truly representative of your excitement, then that's the thing to do. However, we also remind you that many people on your planet confuse anxiety with excitement. And that's why we initially said in the other conversation, you have to first be honest about whether or not what you say you're actually excited about is actually a definition of excitement, because it may not be. You may be in denial about things and wanting to go this way and go that way because there's something else you don't want to look at within yourself, and then calling it excitement so you have an excuse to go do something else and not pay attention to what you really need to process. You have to decide whether that's what's happening or whether it is truly representative of your highest excitement. And also ask yourself, why, if you have a real definition of excitement, a true definition of excitement, which, by the way, in the complete kit is also the organizing principle of your life. Remember that? As one of the tools in the kit. So if that is one of the tools in the kit, the organizing principle that allows synchronicity to bring you what you need exactly when you need it, in the order you need it, why would you create a definition of excitement that piled those things on top of each other so quickly that you couldn't finish one or two of them? That may not be a definition of excitement if you don't actually have time to enjoy what it is you're excited about. So pay attention to the fact that you may be creating a definition that is not actually purely a definition of excitement, with certain assumptions that you have to go hither, thither, and yon in order to be expressing excitement and running around with your hair on fire, which isn't always necessarily an indication of excitement.
So the best solution to that is just be as present as you can be.
Be as present as you can, because remember, there are many expressions of excitement, and sometimes even being in a balanced state of meditative peace can be a complete expression of excitement. So there's no rush. Are you in a hurry to get somewhere?
No, but I feel like I easily get frustrated myself.
I understand, but that's the clue right there. When you say, I feel I easily get frustrated, it's because you have a definition that creates the feeling of frustration. If you understand that all feelings exist only because of something you believe to be true first. You can't have an emotional response to something that you don't believe in. So if you have a certain emotional response, that's an indication, that's your first clue, that that response has to be intimately connected with a definition that is generating that response. So if that's the case, you take a moment, you take a breath, you take a pause, and you allow yourself to ask the questions from one direction or another. A, what would I have to believe is true about myself in this situation in order to feel the way I do? That's one way to ask the question. Another way to ask the question, because we understand that many of the definitions you may be holding on to might be fear-based, is to actually use the fear to your advantage and ask the question from the reverse angle, which is, if I really allowed myself to be who I truly prefer to be, what am I most terrified will actually happen? One way or another, when you ask the question from one direction or another, if you're willing to hear the answer, then in some way, shape, or form, the answer will be presented to you, whether in your life when you're awake, when you're dreaming, synchronicity, one way or another, the answer will come if you're willing to hear the answer. All right?
Yes.
So anytime you have a feeling that you feel uncomfortable with, stop and ask the question, what would I have to believe is true about myself in order to feel this way in this circumstance? And then listen. You'll get the answer if you're willing to hear it. But the only thing that would keep you from being willing to hear the answer is if you have another belief that says, if you find out that answer, it's going to be horrible, and you're going to find out that your worst nightmare is actually going to come true. This is what we'll be talking about tomorrow night, about one of the tricks of negative beliefs. As we said in a session called Angels and Demons, negative beliefs are the father of lies. You understand? That's that biblical phrase, and that's actually what the biblical phrase means. It's referring to the idea of the negative beliefs that have the sole duty and the structure of convincing you that there is no other possible belief. So they will say anything to get you to stay in that state because that's their job. That's what they're designed to do. You have to know differently. And that's what we'll be discussing tomorrow night of your time. How to do that.
Yeah.
All right?
Thank you so much.
Does this help you?
Very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can I ask one more question?
That was a question.
You got me.
So I guess you
got
have
me.
the ability to do so.
You got true. When it comes to...
I know it's true. That's why I said it.
Yeah. When it comes to prayer,
Yes.
From what I understand and what I've gathered to understand is that it's about faith and believing it already exists. So it's about receiving.
It's about knowing
it
it exists. It's about knowing it's already here. And it's about being in a state of gratitude that it already exists. You have to pray as if it's already a done deal. Not for something you want, because then that keeps it out there in the wanting state. But if you know it's already a done deal, then you know that it will manifest at exactly the perfect moment, not a second before the perfect moment when it serves you best, but not a second later than the perfect moment. So once you are in that state of gratitude for what you already have that may simply be invisible to you at the moment, just go on about your life and let it manifest when it serves you best. All right?
All right. Thank you so much, Bashar.
Thank you. Hey!
I have a little bit weird question about my
A
family.
weird question.
Yeah.
How exciting. Yes?
Okay.
What is your weird question?
I don't see my father for 14 years.
What
and,
location is your father on the planet?
Japan.
Oh, all right.
Okay.
Why have you not seen him for 14 years?
We just stopped talking and
You stopped talking.
yeah, I stopped talking
All right. Because
he stopped talking too.
you stopped talking because he stopped
stopped
talking, or he stopped talking and then you stopped talking?
I don't know. But
Which is it? Or you both stopped talking simultaneously? You got together and talked about stopping talking? Which is it?
I forget.
It's
that-
all right.
Okay.
I'm just playing with you. The real question is why, not when.
Why?
Yes, why did you stop talking?
Like whenever he like I get him so upset so easy.
No, he chooses to be upset.
Right.
You have no power to upset him that he doesn't agree to abide by. So why does he choose to be upset? And what is he upset about?
About very small things. Such as like
You understand that when people get upset about small things, they're actually upset about something deeper and bigger. They're just not willing to admit it. And they're using the small things as distractions to keep them from looking at the reason they are actually upset deep down. You understand that? Yes, no, maybe?
yes,
All right.
maybe. Yes.
Are you simply saying then that you find that you are vibrationally incompatible with your father at this moment and don't necessarily need to experience that negative energy in your life and that's why you're not talking? Is that what you're saying? Do you understand what
yes.
we're saying?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
All right. Well, so
Yes.
then you've made a decision to recognize that you may not necessarily be vibrationally compatible right now. Now,
yeah.
if you are excited to communicate with him, regardless of whether he wishes to communicate with you, there are certainly many other ways you can do it. You can send letters and emails and so on and so forth. And you can allow yourself to experience the joy of doing that, even if he chooses not to respond, yes?
Yes.
Well, if that's something that you prefer to do, you can do it. If you don't, then that's fine. But if you have decided that it is really your preference, your highest excitement, not to necessarily communicate with someone who chooses to be negative all the time, then that's your right to do so.
Right.
And you are then demonstrating to him the consequences of the choices that he is making. Because if he is choosing to be vibrationally incompatible with you, then communication doesn't occur between you. And that's the consequences of the choice that he's making.
Right.
You have to show people what the consequences are of the choices that they make relative to you, so that you can be authentic with them, so they will know who they're actually in a relationship with. Because if you're just pretending to be who you're not, then they're not in a relationship with you anyway. So what difference does it make whether it is literal or metaphorical? Because if you're not you, they're not in a relationship with you. So if you are authentically you, at least they are in some form of relationship with the real you, even if they choose not to really act on it so much. At least you're being authentic and giving them an opportunity, if they wish to form a stronger relationship with you, to choose to do so. But it doesn't mean they have to. You have to be willing to allow him to choose what he wishes to choose, just as you want him to allow you to choose what you prefer to choose. Yes?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Is this all right? Do you understand?
Yes, I understand.
Is this
it.
helping?
Very.
Oh, all right.
Yes. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Anything else?
No.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Bashar.
And you good day.
Thank you. Oh, closer, sure. So I want to start off with a sharing
Oh,
of something
all
I
right.
learned from you.
All right.
I'm a dentist, and my mom's a dentist too, and I was working in her office, and she has this one unit where the rheostat, you know that thing you press with your foot to make the
All right, we understand the mechanism you are
Right.
describing.
And it would, when you would turn it on, it would not shut off.
Yes.
So I'd be inside a patient's mouth, and this 400,000 RPM thing is kind of running amok, and you have to kind of kick it to get it to stop. And
How
so,
exciting.
well, that's
How
what I'm getting at.
unexpected.
That's what I'm getting at. That's what I'm getting at. So it would make me very kind of anxious and even a bit angry.
Ooh.
And then in the middle, as I'm doing this,
Yes.
I thought, well, you know, nothing, as you said, has any intrinsic meaning to
No.
it. And so I figured, well, I could choose to think of this any which way I want then.
Yes.
So I stopped and I said, you know, this rheostat has cruise control.
Yes.
And so I just pressed it, and it was much more relaxing to my foot to just kind of put my foot to the side.
All right.
And I felt this rush of energy
Yes.
that was no longer like fearful kind of energy. It was much more kind of joy.
Congratulations.
And I thank you for that. That was a great kind of experience for me. So I'm applying that to everything I can and sharing it with as
all
many
right.
people as I can.
Then you are now in alignment and no longer experiencing that you've bitten off more than you can chew.
Thank you for the pun.
All right, you're welcome.
And the other thing I wanted to ask you about
Yes.
is, so I have a really strong affinity about being a content
Wait a
specialist.
minute. Wait a minute.
Yes?
That did not get the groan it really deserved.
What?
Come on. Bitten off more than you can chew. Oh. Thank you. We know a bad pun when we hear one,
All right. We got plenty of them, too.
and it's fun to groan at them. That's what they're for.
So,
Yeah.
again, having this strong affinity to being a contact specialist, I love your stories, your shares about what you've learned from other civilizations, like with
Yes.
the Thuk and et cetera. And I'm wondering if you have some more that you can share with me.
Do you remember the most recent one we talked about in the Inside Out universe? Because we're still very
Yes.
deeply exploring
yes.
that.
Yes, exactly. So others like that.
Nope. Not at this timing.
Okay.
It's not appropriate for this moment, but there are others we will share upcoming.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I love you.
Thank you. Our love to you as well.
Cheers.
Hi, Bashar.
Andy, you good day.
So my latest excitement and something that I resonate with a lot
Yes.
is a book that's come out called The Soul's Plan,
The soul's plan.
and it talks about pre-birth planning.
Pre-birth planning. Yes.
And I'm fascinated with this idea, but it also causes me a lot of anxiety.
I beg your pardon. Would you like to rephrase that?
I'm excited about this idea.
And sometimes you choose to buy into negative definitions that generate anxiety within you.
Yes.
It doesn't cause anything.
Yes. I
All right.
choose to be anxious about.
Thank you for your honesty. Now that you are willing to be responsible for what you are experiencing, you are empowered to do something about it, because you can't change what you're not willing to own.
Yes.
Because if you're saying, well, the book did this to me, what are you going to do? Tear the book to pieces? You're still going to be anxious. But if you own it, you can change it.
Yes.
All right.
I agree.
And so,
I get anxious. I choose to be anxious about certain ideas
such
related
as?
to whether I have the ability to create certain things, or whether they've already been, whether my highest self has already chosen them before I've.
Who cares? Every single appointment that has already been made will play out in the proper timing that it needs to. Why do you have to know when that might be, as long as you trust that it will happen when it needs to? You can't miss the appointments that have been made, except if you spend your time and energy worrying if you will miss the appointments that you've been made. That's the only way to miss the appointments. If you don't worry you'll miss them, you can't miss them.
Okay.
Does that help?
That helps.
All right, but not enough.
I will.
What are you still anxious about?
Sometimes I think about this in terms of my clients that I help, who I'm trying to empower to realize that they have the ability to heal themselves.
And you also have this power for yourself?
Yes.
All right.
And in the book, they just have a lot of stories about people who like choose certain things, including illnesses, before
Yes.
they come in to experience a certain thing.
Yes.
So
So what are you anxious about?
whether I'll be able to help.
Of course you can help.
Okay.
Did you yourself not hear yourself say that they actually heal themselves?
Yes.
Well, then all you need to do is give off the vibration of your intention to help, and give off the vibration that you believe best represents their healed state, but they still have to match the frequency in order to experience the healing, don't they?
Yes.
And what if someone comes in with an absolute belief that they cannot be healed? Won't you allow them to have that manifestation of not being healed as what they wished to have? Being the compassionate healer that you wish to be? Will you not allow them their choices? Or you will insist that they must be healed?
I will allow them their
Then
choices.
what's your worry? Because you know that you are doing the best you can to provide an atmosphere and an environment that they can choose to match that will be representative of the healed state. And simultaneously, the energy you're giving off is so unconditionally supportive and loving that you will even allow them to choose not to be healed. That's how much loving support you are giving off. Therefore, you will have done everything you could possibly do. Yes?
Yes.
And that's all you can do. So if you're doing all you can do, what is there to be anxious about?
I agree.
Thank you. Does this help you?
It does.
Anything else?
Yes.
Yes.
There's another new energy healing modality that I'm working with and I'm really excited about.
All right, a permission slip.
A permission slip.
Which is what?
It's called the emotion code, and it helps remove sort of trapped emotions that people have in their
There's
body.
really no such thing as trapped emotions.
Okay.
But there are definitions that may make it appear so.
Okay.
Understand the profound difference between those two statements?
Can you expand
There
on
is no such thing as trapped emotions, but there are definitions that may make it appear so. That statement right there is freeing, because you know there are no such things as true trapped emotions. So you're already starting ahead of the game by knowing that the only way someone could experience it as if there are trapped emotions is if they have a definition that makes it appear so, and then you know exactly what to work with, that definition that makes it appear so. Because once they find that definition and identify it and let it go, they will no longer feel emotionally trapped. That's how it works. You have discovered the mechanism itself that needs to be dealt with that will allow for a change in experience. How freeing is that? The correct definition is a description of the actual mechanism you need to work with. The correct definition is actually a description of the mechanism you need to work with. Does that help?
It does.
But
I'm going to process that because I want to know it and not just know it intellectually. So
All right.
I'm going to work with that.
all right.
There's a specific type of thing called a heart wall. I know you've spoken before about how our hearts are connected.
Yes.
Does that concept, and I may be defining it incorrectly, but the process of removing someone's heart wall that's keeping them from energetically like connecting with other people.
Excuse me one moment, I'm laughing. All right. By the way,
Yes.
if you're going to buy into the definition and concept of such a heart wall, I just showed you how to dissolve it.
Okay.
Laughter. Get them to laugh, it'll dissolve. And it will show itself for the smoke and mirrors that it is. Yes?
Yes,
Does this help?
it does.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bashar.
Thank you for the heart to heart.
Hello, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
Hi. I wanted to ask about, I've been working with the mirror work, sort of.
The mirror.
Well,
Are you
I
talking
have
about
been-
the psychomantium?
I was
Or are
doing
you talking about the exercise we gave you at the beginning?
the psychomantium, but recently, just this last week, I've
Yes.
been doing something similar to, well, really just staring
Yes.
into my eyes.
All right. Then you
But-
have a good head start on the permission slip that we gave you tonight.
Yeah, and I just have a question. See,
Oh, all
I wear
right. I knew there was
contacts.
one in there somewhere.
So I'm not sure if I'm seeing things, but I know that,
Well, of course you're seeing
well,
things.
yeah.
But it depends upon what you mean by seeing. Are you saying, are you crazy? Of course you are.
Yeah, I know I'm crazy, but,
All right.
you know,
But crazy in a good way.
yeah.
Well, then
Yeah,
the
that's
things
the
that you
thing.
see when you're crazy in a good way are crazy good.
That's probably why I keep doing it. But it's sort of like, well, sometimes as I'm looking, like,
Yes.
my vision, it can get like real dark.
Yes.
And after it gets dark, it's like my face, I don't know, my appearance change. It's like, I don't know, it's
Yes.
like some parts of my face become highlighted, and then
Yes.
like sometimes my
all right,
eyes
all right,
seems
all
different.
right. I'll give you a little bit more background on why this technique is the way it is designed to be. Remember that when we're talking about permission slips, there are many different forms of permission slips, and one of the strongest ones that many of you gravitate to are what are called tarot cards, or other things that have imagery on them that you can learn to read. Remember that you're a multidimensional being. When you stare into the mirror, you're starting to create your image in the form of a tarot card of you and all the multidimensional aspects of your greater being. So from time to time, just as people who read tarot cards say, when they look at a picture, sometimes one thing will stand out that tells them what to say. And when they look at the same card another time, another thing will stand out from the very same card that will tell them what to say. Sometimes things stand out they actually swear they never saw before on that card, and it will tell them what to say. You're turning your own image into a tarot card in this technique, and are more capable of seeing all the different dimensions of the different people that may be part of the same oversoul that you are an extension from, tapping into the greater being that you are. And so, of course, it's natural that from time to time you might see your shape change to take on the qualities of other aspects of the greater being of which you are a part.
Okay.
Does that help?
That does help. And I did feel that that it was part of me. Like, it was still my reflection, of course, everything
Yes, but it's also a bigger reflection of more of you.
is. Okay.
So in other words, it's giving you a little tiny bit of an ability to have a little tiny glimpse of what the oversoul sees when it sees all of its projections at once. But it's being given to you in a way you can handle within your linear space-time frame of reference. Okay. A little bit here and a little bit there. Don't be, as you say, freaked out if suddenly you actually begin to see more than one face at a time.
Okay.
That might be a natural extension of how you might use this permission slip. Doesn't mean it has to happen for everyone that way. You'll all have your own unique way of expressing the idea of a reflection of more of you. But nevertheless, that might be one of the ways in which some of you will experience more awareness of more of yourself.
Okay.
Does this help?
That does help. Also,
Mirror, mirror on the wall.
I know.
Who's the fairest of us all? We all are!
And then there's, well, sometimes, like, if I'm looking directly,
Yes.
and I sort of get the attention, sometimes it looks like my eyes don't move.
Yeah.
And then sometimes
Yes.
it seems like my hand moves, or
Yes.
like in the corner of my eye, my mouth will be moving. But
What's different about what you're saying than what I already told you?
well, I remember the last time we had a conversation when I was up here talking, and
Yes.
you mentioned spiritual cookies.
Yes.
And I don't know, I feel, I guess, impatient because
Why are you impatient? That means you're not living in the present. You're not enjoying what is in front of you. You're in a rush to get somewhere else. You don't actually need patience if you're living in the moment. And if you don't need patience, you will never be impatient. By enjoying everything that happens because you know whatever's happening needs to be happening and extract the most from it that you can, then you won't need to be patient. And if you don't need to be patient, you won't experience impatience. Impatience is trying to be somewhere you're not.
Yes.
Well, you can't be somewhere you're not. You can pretend to be somewhere you're not, but you can't actually be somewhere you're not. So the sooner you realize there's nowhere else you can be but here and now, and sooner you realize that everything that happens here and now has a purpose to serve you, and extract from it what that purpose is, what that reflection's about, then when you use that moment up for what it is, that's when the moment can present something new to you. But the paradox is that the longer you refuse to exist in the moment, the longer it takes to experience the next moment. You're the one slowing it down and creating the need for patience, which then generates impatience by not living in the moment and being okay with whatever's going on in the moment.
Okay.
Which is another way of saying you don't trust the way your life unfolds. Understand?
Yes.
Is this helping?
Yes.
Did that open your eyes?
Yes, it did.
All right. Then when you look in the mirror next time, look with your new eyes. All right?
Thank you.
And you will see something different. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nania? Yes. We are thus ready. I'm going to say good day to you this day of your time. How are you all? All right. All right. Thank you. Once again, we thank each and every one of you individually and all of you together collectively for the co-creation of this interaction between our respective civilizations, and for giving us the opportunity to experience through each and every one of you another viewpoint, another perspective, another way that all that is has of experiencing itself within the creation that it is. We would like to begin this transmission, this day of your time, having titled it, The Metaphysics of Physics. And what we basically mean by this is that, as has been discussed many times from many different sources, the idea of physical reality is that it is a projection of consciousness. In a sense, it is like a dream. It isn't really out there around you. It isn't really solid in the classical meaning of that word. But the idea is that everything that exists in physical reality, in some way, shape, or form, begins within the consciousness as a resonance pattern, as a template, as a blueprint, if you will. And thus that blueprint, that energy pattern, is in a sense crystallized within the consciousness into the format that you perceive and experience as physical reality. Now, the idea then is that, as we have discussed, and as have many of you realized, physical reality contains different kinds of reflections. The basic ones you would generally say are the positive and the negative, but then there is also the neutral, which is what makes physical reality not a duality, but a trinity. There is always the middle part, always the balance point. This is energetically what allows you to create the reality you prefer, because there is always going to be a way in which you can blend and balance the positive, the negative, coming from the neutral place in order to generate whatever kind of an experience that you prefer or that you chose as a theme of exploration. But how this idea of the neutral place and the positive and negative energies that exist or are experienced within physical reality express themselves in the physical reality is quite fascinating. The idea of what you consider to be matter and the constituents of matter that make up your physical reality, what you would call the subatomic particles, so on and so forth, also do express this idea of the Trinity within their basic fundamental structure. First and foremost, most simply, you have, as many of you know from taking certain classes in your school, that an atom is generally made up of three components. You have the positively charged proton, you have the negatively charged electron, and you have the neutral neutron. Aptly named, don't you think? However, what you may not realize is how apt this structure is, how expressive it is in a very specific and precise way to the idea of the energy patterns that we've already described. Many of you may not realize that a neutron, if, shall we say, left to its own devices, a free neutron not connected within an atomic structure, actually breaks down into a proton and an electron. So the idea is that the neutral particle is neutral because it is made up of, in a sense, positive charges, negative charges, and it expresses these things and manifests these things as the two seemingly opposite elementary particles of the proton and the electron. And because it contains both charges, that's why it is also able to be attracted to the proton or attract a proton to it, as well as the electron, because the neutron, shall we say, has kind of layers to it energetically. Now, understand, of course, what we are saying is somewhat euphemistic, but it's a good way to illustrate the point. The neutron, being neutral because it contains both charges, does this in a particular way, sort of like a layer cake. Because the proton cannot be attracted to another positively charged particle easily, the neutron must attract it. If it is to attract it at all, it must have some kind of a charge with which to do so. So the skin of the neutron, so to speak, is actually negatively charged to attract the proton. But it is also in its body positively charged to also attract the electron. So it does double duty in that way and creates and gives structure to the concept that you call the atom. Now, because it is able to break down into the proton and the electron and a few other things we won't go into right now that are, for the purpose of this illustration, somewhat superfluous, you begin to get the understanding that the neutron, in a sense, is a little bit bigger than both of them. It has, in your scientific terminology, more mass than the proton. Way more mass than the electron, of course. But it contains both, so it has to, in a sense, be more massive than both, so that when it breaks down, there is a sufficient amount of mass to express the proton and the electron. So the idea of the neutral state, energetically speaking, in your life, in your experience as a state of being, is similar. The idea is that the neutral state contains the potential for both a positive and a negative experience based on the meaning that you give to the neutral situation that is there to begin with. Now, in another transmission coming up in what you would call your near future, we're going to go more deeply into the idea of exactly what we mean when we talk about fundamental neutral states. For that transmission will help you understand how to identify neutral states more clearly and thus be more capable of infusing them with the positive or negative meaning that will then result in the idea of a positive or negative experience. But for now, it is sufficient to understand that this neutral state, like the neutron, contains the potential for both, and it is actually exemplified in physical reality by the very fact that the neutron itself is capable of breaking down into both physically. Now, let's look a little bit at the electron. The electron is representative of the idea of the negative energy, and of course, when we talk about it as an energetic state, we're simply talking about the idea of that which is disconnective, dissociative, segregative, so to speak, whereas when we talk about the positive energy, we're talking about things that are integrative, expansive, connective, so to speak, as a mechanism. But also what's associated with the negative energy that we have discussed many times with many of you are the idea of negative beliefs. As we have said, belief systems, both positive and negative, must do something to perpetuate themselves because they're not really real. Physical reality is not really real. In a sense, it's a projection, it's a dream, it's an illusion. So the belief systems are designed to perpetuate themselves in such a manner as to make it seem as if the reality that they depict, the definition of reality that they depict, is actually real so that you can have an actual solid physical experience. But when it comes to the idea of positive beliefs, the positive beliefs are reflecting to you the true nature of your being, the true, powerful, self-empowered, creative, loving nature of your spirit, of your being, of your essence, of your existence. The negative belief systems, in a sense, have to work much harder than the positive beliefs to get you to buy into a scenario that is fundamentally not true about you. Because you are basically creative, positive beings, essentially. So in order to get you to have an experience that is negative, it has to tell you things that are fundamentally lies about yourself, and it has to reinforce those lies with every trick in the book that it can muster, every tool in its kit. Otherwise, you would see right through the smoke and mirrors and know that it is just an illusion and that what the negative beliefs are telling you about yourself has to be, by definition, false. So let's look now at the correlation, at the analogy in the electron. The idea of the atomic structure, as you understand it in your society now, is not so much the exact classical representation of a tiny little particle orbiting around the nucleus in a very clean sort of way like a planet around a sun. No. That's kind of an outdated, old-fashioned way of representing it. It's good as a general illustration. But you now know, your physicists now know, that the electrons sort of exist more in what they term a probability cloud. That is, you're never really sure exactly where it is. It's whipping around so fast. It's somewhere in this hazy cloud that surrounds the nucleus. Somewhere in there are a bunch of electrons, but where they are, we don't know until we take a measurement and freeze where it is. But then you don't really understand exactly what its path has been because you're freezing it into a static state. But when it's moving, you don't really know where it is at any given moment. So in a sense, it is similar to the idea of negative beliefs in that it creates this sort of ambiguous fuzzy cloud that you can't really get a grip on. And it fools you into thinking that there are certain things going on that are really only probabilities, really only potentials, and not really very solid at all until you yourself decide that you're going to take a particular idea, a particular definition, which is the same thing as an observation or a measurement, scientifically speaking, and in taking that perspective and taking that measurement, then you get what you designed the perspective for. You get what you designed the measurement or the experiment for. That's the result you get. So the electron does exemplify and does represent the way in which negative beliefs work, in that they're kind of fuzzy, you're not really sure what's going on, they tend to hide in your unconscious mind, so you can't make it easy to find them, so you won't let them go, because again, this is their way of perpetuating themselves, telling you lies and telling you more lies, and using tools like fear to prevent you from finding them, so that they can continue to get you to believe that what they're telling you about you is true when it's not. So that is a general correlation, whereas the idea of the proton, being the positively charged thing, being in a sense more easily observed because it is the very nature of the element you're looking at itself, it is the very identifying energy of the elements themselves, then it's easy for you to see that directly. It doesn't have to hide, it doesn't have to confuse you, it doesn't have to fool you one way or the other. It is just telling you what you are. It is telling you what is. It is showing you your nature. So when you're looking at an element, let us say, for example, gold, or let us say mercury, you are really looking at the protons. That's what you're looking at, because it is the protons that determine what the element is. So they're easy to see. But the electrons, those sneaky little electrons, very tiny, buzzing around in their little B cluster cloud of probabilities. I'm over here. No, I'm not. I'm over here. No, I'm not. I'm over here. No, I'm not. Fooled you again. Shows you a direct correlation between the idea of the way the energy states themselves exist and the way that they actually crystallize down through your consciousness into the expression you call physical materiality. The trinary idea extends itself further because, as your scientists have discovered, or as they have created for themselves to perceive, even the idea of some of the so-called subatomic particles like the proton have other particles within them that you have called quarks. And those quarks generally also come in threes, which again shows you the trinity aspect of the existence of that energy. Again, the duality and the neutral place in between. This does not have to be completely absorbed at this time in this way. You don't necessarily have to have any kind of a physics degree to absorb and understand this. It is simply something for your consciousness to look at with curiosity, let it sink in, and let the idea of the energy states and the structures that they appear to create that you call physical reality have a lot to do with each other, are really just different expressions of the same thing. They're just different expressions of the state of being that is existence itself, expressing itself on all levels as that trinity. The only level on which such trinities don't exist or dualities exist is what we would call the one. That is the homogeneous one state where there is no differentiation whatsoever, but because there is no differentiation, there is also no experience, no awareness. It takes the all that is to be aware of itself. It's the first reflection to itself that there is the appearance of an other that creates that idea that starts splitting into the, well, there is this, and there is that, and there is this relationship in the middle. So really, the neutron and the neutral state that give rise to the experience of the positive and negative sides, the proton, the electron, the neutron itself and the neutral state is actually more precisely the reality that you call reality. Whereas the projections that come from it are the reflective illusions based on the information you have put into it, such as a positive meaning or a negative meaning, a positive definition or a negative definition. But the neutron and the neutral state is actually what you are as an existence, as a reality, and everything is contained within it, and everything can be expressed from it. Does that make sense to you? All right. So, just let that sink in. It's a little bit of physics fun.